Greg Sutton, Chief Academic Officer here for Hardin County Schools. Thank you for joining on this edition of Impacting Learning and Empowering Students. If you've kept up with us over the last few months, last month we actually featured Debbie White, our Director of Federal Programs, and all the great things we're doing with that and professional development. If you caught us on the last board meeting, we talked a lot about our HCEC success. Even though all the things we've been through over the last year, we've had a lot of success going on in this district. And actually today on this edition of Impacting Students and Empowering Students, Impacting Learning, is that this is the first time we featured a counselor here in our district on this on one of these segments. So today we're happy to have Christy Wright. Christy, thanks for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me.
Very much so. Christy, we got some big news here to share with everybody at the end of this segment, and it's a pretty big time for you and for Hardin County Schools, but we don't want to ruin that. Right. We want to save that excitement for the end. So I just want you to let it start off and tell us how long you've been in the field of education and how long you've been in Hardin County Schools.
This year is my 26th year in education, and it is true, Greg, the older you get, the faster time flies. And it, to look back at my professional career since college, I just sometimes pinch myself thinking it's just been, when you have a job and a career and every morning you get up and you love going to work and your work family and the students you serve. And I think that's why time has flown, because when you have fun, time flies. So 26 years in education. It's not in
all 26 of those years here at Hardin County?
No, sir. I'm a graduate of LaRue County High School, and I taught business there for a few years and became school counselor. And prior to that, I was actually in Cloverport schools.
Oh my goodness, we learned a lot today about Miss Wright.
Yes, for a couple of years. I was a business ed teacher there and FBLA sponsor, and I was even roped into coaching girls middle school basketball and tennis coach there, and then started my career back in my home school district in LaRue County and served as FBLA advisor, business teacher, and that's where I was hired to be school counselor in LaRue County.
This is amazing. I like what you said.
Yes.
This is not something you have to do. This is something you get to do.
That's right.
Children seem to be your passion, and education seems to be your passion. And just hearing what you said about being a former business teacher, now I see why you've been such a good fit for the Early College and Career Center. That fits into a pathway right there.
Sure.
So thank you for sharing your roles you've been in and the districts you served in. But we're glad to have you in Hardin County Schools.
Thank you.
And how many years in Hardin County Schools now out of the 26 years?
I was hired January of 2014.
Okay, so we're already
7 years in.
7 years in, so it's going by very, very fast. Specifically, let's focus on your current role as counselor at college at the College and Career Center. You've been there for 7 years, I see. And thinking back to 2014, you kind of helped open that building. Am I saying that right?
Yes, you did. I remember our principal, Dan Robbins, and our office manager, Melissa Trout. We were actually in a little office closet out at the board office, and we were all lined up in little cubicles. And we were the ones that at that time we got to help the logo, the EC3 logo,
right.
Even things like picking out the carpet and the fabric and the desk and everything. So from ground zero, we were there on that side of things. But bigger than that, we were there to help the school district with the career pathways that we offer there.
Right.
And before Mr. Dan Robbins brought me on the team, he had already visited Central Hardin, John Hardin, and North Hardin High School to start promoting the career pathways that would be offered at EC3. And I remember my first day of work, I had huge stacks of papers that the students at all three high schools, they did like an interest inventory, and they indicated of the pathways we were thinking we would offer, which ones that they would choose from. And then we would go to each of the three high schools, and we started calling students in one at a time to talk to them specifically at that point. Hey, are you still interested in this pathway? And then B, here's the course sequence that you might take to help start to build a schedule. And it, looking back, it was an honor to be part of that team, part of that. And now to see, all of the wonderful career pathways and opportunities for our Hardin County students.
Right. What were maybe some of the challenges you faced, other than scheduling can be, it's massive.
Sure.
can be a beast,
Sure.
you know, and trying to figure out, you know, what kids need and putting that piece of the puzzle back together then had to have been a challenge. But what were some of the other maybe obstacles you all had to overcome at that time?
Right, and I think too, just communication with students and their families and all three high schools. And at that time, all three high schools were kind of like their own islands. You know, they all three, their class schedules were a little bit different, their bell schedules, just any little thing you can think of. And then we had to piece it all together to work with all three to fit their needs, because you know, that's their school, their needs. But their students that left that school and came to EC3, we had to really communicate and put our heads together and really think about how we can make this best for students and for their learning environment. And so that may have been one of the biggest challenges.
Making
at
everything
that time.
fit together, one big puzzle piece. And I guess for me, you think about, no matter what, sometimes we compete in sports. I know your daughters are swimmers, aren't they?
Right, yes, sir.
You know, sometimes we compete in sports, and it was always like, well, you got North, you got John, you got Central. And for the first time, we said, we're going to be one team at EC3.
That's true.
And you're going to be setting classes with somebody from another school. And before 2014, that was never thought of.
No, you're exactly right. So coming together, and we had a few people that thought, oh, they'll never, you know, but after a couple of weeks, it was so fascinating seeing the blend and seeing them come together, and students from all three schools sitting together at lunch. And an interesting story, we had one student who transferred to Hardin County Schools from another school district because of the academy and early college pathway. And she enrolled in one of our schools in the district. She became friends, really good friends with girls from another school in our district, and she decided, I want to graduate with them. So she ended up transferring from one of our schools to another so she could walk the line.
Isn't that amazing?
It is. And students, they will share and swap sweatshirts and t-shirts, and it's a really neat environment seeing the kids come together to form their own at EC3, but most importantly, they're still their home high school.
Correct.
They're still very proud of their home high school, you know, participating in many activities at their high school. It's just a really, really interesting side of things, seeing them come together and form their own little EC3 family, for lack of better words.
I'm glad you said family, because we always talk about Team Hardin County. We're one county, you know, moving together in one direction. But I don't think we ever really saw that until this happened with EC3, and that's why I appreciate you saying that we are, you know, one team, you know, one heartbeat, moving in the same direction. I thought EC3 solidified what we always said about, you know, helping children succeed in Team Hardin County. So thank you for doing that. There's certainly some obstacles you face there, but you know, and I keep saying this over and over during these segments, you know, for our HCS Instructional Service Department, you're looking at 38 pathways we offer students. And looking all the way back to 2014, where we started, and analyzing all the pathways we started with, now up to 38 across the district. Did you foresee, and I want you to be honest, did you foresee all the successes we were going to see with kids 7 years down the road? Could you see it, or were you just kind of hoping at times?
Well, you know, when I think back, I am so thankful that Miss Nanette Johnston, you know, had the vision, had the courage, and the support of our school district, our school board, and all of the instructional support she's had. And now that Miss Morgan's in place and you're in place in your position, and just she kind of got the idea started. And I am so happy and appreciative for all the hard work that this school district puts in and supports, not just EC3, but all of the opportunities, you know, ROTC and ag and business and family consumer science, and all of these wonderful opportunities that are not necessarily at EC3, but across the district. And I really think too, over time, that all three high schools have pretty equal ground. In the beginning, you know, one of the high schools may have had one pathway and the other two didn't, but over time we're seeing that more and more opportunities for a school district. So am I shocked? No, because I know the hard work behind the scenes with instruction and your role in our district, and I know Ms. Slavin, you know, our district transition coach, and then at all three high schools we've got a powerhouse of transition coaches. Justin Kraft at North, Jennifer Cobb at John Hardin, and Tara Wooden at Central, that are right there in knee deep trying to help sustain these wonderful opportunities.
And you're communicating with them.
Oh yes, sir. And then just continually to grow, you know, these awesome opportunities for our students.
Absolutely. You know, I always say that, you know, you and Dan and Ms. Trout, obviously, y'all y'all been the staples there of the organization. Y'all been there from the inception of EC3. You're still there now. So I always say about Dan, he's a very, you know, hands-on. He's very progressive. He's a visionary. You talk to him about a pathway, and he knows it.
He does.
He knows.
He does.
And that's what always impresses me is that,
Right.
you know, if you have a conversation about a pathway, he knows each step you have to take to complete the pathway, to be a completer, to pass the industry certification, to help kid toward a co-op opportunity. You know, talk a little about Mr. Robbins and as the leader of the building and how you all meshed together to make this happen. Talk a little bit about Mr. Robbins here. We're going to talk about you, Mr. Robbins.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Well, he's a former business teacher as well.
Okay,
so
there's a good connection between you two
That's
there.
right, and
Okay.
WKU grad, and like myself, and so from the get-go, very similar backgrounds. I think we just clicked professionally in that regard. But one thing that I noticed right away is he is student first. And sometimes tough decisions are made, but if it's in the best interest of the student, then that's the right decision. So knowing that makes every decision in our building solid. You know?
Right.
But you are exactly right. He knows career technical ed, CTE, inside and out. He is gifted with instruction. But with that said, he tells all of our staff, for example, our automotive teacher, Mr. Tom Pitt, you are the expert in that classroom. So he entrusts our staff, he empowers us to do our job, and we know he's right there to support us all the way through. But just like you said, his leadership, his love for student first, and he also creates such a family work environment, and that helps so much with morale. And I think our staff being happy and content and supported, I think trickles down to, most importantly, our students that sense that and know that.
I noticed that day y'all were out there redoing the landscaping out front. Everybody was out there helping.
Yes.
Everybody was out there making the school look good, but all the way down to not just the pathways, but the academy that y'all done with the dual credit, the connection with our ECTC. So many opportunities for kids. He's been very supportive of our new law enforcement, our residential maintenance, construction pathway. Those are starting to take off here across the district. So it takes a team.
It really does.
But I appreciate the way you all are working together.
Well, thank you.
For that. And the community support is what I want to talk about next. I wrote that down here that we've created job opportunities for kids. How has your role impact our connections with community members and sponsors to lead to maybe whether co-op or job opportunities? What do you and Mr. Robbins kind of work together to make that happen?
We are very fortunate because our pathways, I'm just sitting here thinking, every single one of our pathways has a strong connection with someone out in our professional community. And I'm talking about, for example, there's no way our health science pathway could be as successful if it weren't for Baptist Heart Health or Baptist
Heart and Health.
There we go. I still want to say Heart Memorial. Sorry.
It's a tough change for us.
Sure. And then Walgreens and Kensington and Swope in our automotive pathway. Brandenburg with our IT pathway. I mean, those are just to name a few of our wonderful community supporters. And some of those have been there literally since the day we opened our doors. So just anything to foster those relationships. And again, going back to kind of the idea of EC3 and career pathways across the district, yes, we want students to get their diploma first. That's top priority. Secondly is how can we best prepare and give career opportunities to students. So creating these unique relationships with our business partners creates those type of internships and on-the-job training, and hopefully leads into employment opportunities. And then with our academy and our early college pathway, ECTC, they have been with us truly too since day one, and over time open their doors wide open saying, what can we do to make this happen? And with Mr. Robbins' leadership and his vision for providing that type of opportunity, the academic side of EC3 has been an amazing, strong opportunity. So we could not function without our community supporters.
Well, it's a good fit for kids too, because I don't think people realize how much college costs sometimes. And when you say I can get, you know, so many hours of college credit, work on my associate's degree, get 2 years complete before I walk out of high school, that just opens up opportunities to give you a little more freedom when you do get to college.
That's
I don't think they understand that side. There's some freedom to that, and so that's once again another opportunity that you all push. But I have to ask this question. This is kind of an unfair question, probably hard to answer question. You know, how do you go about measuring success of your counseling program and the overall success of EC3? You know, I mean, we sometimes look at we look at a big program, 38 pathways. All these kids were served from daily coming to school. Well, you look at yourself at the end of the day, sometimes the end of the month, the end of the trimester, the end of the year, and say, man, we had a successful trimester or successful year. What do you say to yourself?
Right. Well, I tell people quite often that, yes, EC3 is a beautiful building. You know, it's very impressive. We've got a lot of cool technology and gadgets and tools and bells and whistles and everything, but the students bring it to life. When you see them out, it is. When you see them out in our culinary kitchen, or down in the IT pathway, or the welding shop, or just any little nook and cranny of EC3, at the end of the day, when I go home and I think about seeing those faces of those students in there, and then knowing, you know, they're passing their industry certifications, they're out working in internships, they're completing successfully college credit hours. It's not about us adults, but it's seeing those students, and at the end of the school year when we have our big celebration, and just seeing all the opportunities that will be lifelong for them. That's how I think we measure success for these students.
You're promoting education. You're promoting lifelong learning.
That's right.
It's opening doors for people, and that's what we do. And that's why when we talk about these segments of impacting learning, empowering students, this is where, you know, the rubber meets the road here. And now I want to go into the big exciting news, which she doesn't always love this because she's not a person that likes, you know, a lot of praise. She's kind of a behind the scenes kind of person, but you've recently been named the Counselor of the Year here in the state of Kentucky. Congratulations.
Thank you.
How impressive is that?
Thank you. It warms my heart. And I cannot tell you how humbled I am when I got that email. I had to read it 10 times, like, are they sure? You know, this is for me. Because my take on life is I like to be behind the scenes, and I simply like trying to make somebody's day a little bit better and serving people. And to have this recognition made me stop and think. It's not Christy Wright, it's not me, that I am truly a reflection of everybody around me, my family, my close friends, my work family, all of these awesome students and people across our school district and in our community. And I've told people I'm like a mirror. I try to reflect back what's been given to me.
Right. But I have to say this, it's kind of like you ever seen those Lifetime Achievement Awards, where they give somebody an achievement, maybe in acting or something, for a lifetime of achievement of what you do. And this award would have meant something any time in your career. Let's just say you would have gotten it during year 7. You know, maybe, but I think that when you get to year 26, you move into year 27, and people start seeing your body of work over a career, and when you look at your life's work, you sit here and say, you know, people recognize, you know, good work, people recognize passion, people recognize the love of children. And I wrote this down. I can't think of anybody more dedicated, caring, loyal, hardworking employee, you know, for so many years in this field that'd be more deserving than you. And
thank you.
So we appreciate your service to Hardin County Schools. Please don't go anywhere else. We know you worked at those other schools, you know, Ruhr County, Cloverport, great school systems. But
thank you.
We're glad to have you here, and we appreciate your work at EC3. And I know now from being in my position the last 4 years, I didn't appreciate the work that went into EC3, because until you get into a different role, sometimes you don't understand the perspective, how broad it is.
Right.
You know, you see your one classroom, your one school, your one community at times, but when you come here at the district level, you see how it impacts everybody. And when you walk in that building, you see kids from different schools hanging out in the lobby talking, and then they're all on the tennis teams at different schools, they're all on the football teams at different schools, and then they're all going to class together. Then you see them on the court against each other or the field playing. Sure. You see how that's a neat fit for our district, and a lot of people are envious of what we have, what we can offer kids. So anything else you want to add to that?
Just thank you for having me today, and it's an honor to work for Hardin County Schools, and I just appreciate you and everything that you and your wife, both of you Team. All that you all do for our school district. And I'm appreciative of Ms. Morgan and her leadership and her vision for our district, and how she empowers all of us to go in each day and give our students what they deserve.
Well, thank you, and we'll see you on our next segment. We'll be featuring Tanya Corder, our new High School Director of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment, and hope you'll join us then. Thank you all so much.